What up? It's your boy back at you with another React tutorial. This one we're going to be learning about props, which is how you pass data from a parent down to a child component. In our pathetic setup, the way we have it set up is that we have multiple employees inside of this app component. So these are our child components. I'm going to get rid of these console logs. We don't really need those, so goodbye. Let's take a look at our employee component, and this is designed to be a template for our different components. I had the source control up because I just committed a change, so if you want to get right to where I was at the beginning of this video, you can go find that commit, which is called about to go over props. Alright, so the employee is a template. I've used this example before many times on this channel. You can think of it as a cookie cutter. A cookie cutter isn't a cookie, right? It makes cookies, but each cookie might be a little bit different. Maybe it's a different type of cookie, or maybe different sprinkles for that cookie. It's just a template. So what that means is if we want to give an employee a certain name, we're not going to put that name value inside of this employee component. We're just going to keep it very general. But we can say that we want to use a name, and that's where props comes in. So we can say props here. If we want to use props, we set it as a parameter inside of the employee function, and the argument values will come from the parent component. So what we could do is we could say employee, and then inside of curly braces, props.name. So here's how we keep it very general, where we say the value that was passed in for the name, we want it to show up right here. So we'll save, and then over in app.js, we can give an employee a name by passing it as an attribute. So name is equal to Caleb. We'll save, and let's check out our website. It now says employee Caleb. So there you go. That is your first example of how to use props, and it allows us to pass specific values for different variables. Now you might have noticed that if you don't provide a value, it just leaves it blank, which in many cases can break the display or just make things a little awkward. So we're going to go over how to fix that, and we're going to do it with the role. So let's say not only do you have the name, but you also have the role. So I'm going to reformat this just a little bit so we're actually returning multiple things. So when we want to do this across multiple lines, we use parentheses. We get rid of the semicolon, and we're going to put everything inside of a fragment. So we will open the fragment and then close the fragment down at the bottom. Inside of it, we can have H3 employee name, and then we could also have a paragraph. Really, the HTML tags, I'm just putting things. Don't worry about it too much right now. You could use a span or make this one an H2 and this one an H3, however you want to do it for now. For the paragraph, what we're going to do is we are going to say props.role, and you'll notice that it's no longer highlighted blue because it's not inside of the curly braces. So whenever we want to render a value, we need to put it inside of curly braces. And this will work the same way, but I want a condition so that if it doesn't have a role, it'll say something like no role. So let's just try it first. We'll say role is equal to intern, and this way we can just see what it looks like to start with. So it'll say employee Caleb, intern. For these other employees, I want to first give them a name, and then I want them to say no role. So let's go in here, and I'll just get rid of two of these to make it a little easier. So name is Abby, and name is John. Now inside of our employee, we can condition, so we can say, does this person have a role? If so, we can return the value of role, so props.role. Otherwise, we will just say no role. And this we can surround with quotes. All right, so that should be the structure. Let's take a look. We got employee Caleb is an intern, employee Abby is no role, and employee John is no role. Now let's talk a little bit about the syntax. If you're new, it can be a little confusing. Sometimes we're using curly braces, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we use words by themselves, sometimes we put them in quotes, and it really depends on the context. If you, in this case, are directly within HTML tags, then you will not put quotes around any strings, and any variables are going to be inside of curly braces. If you flip it around, and this time we are directly inside of curly braces, You do not need to use curly braces for the individual variables, and you do need quotes for any strings. So another way you could write this, just to try it out, is you could say props.roll, put the paragraph on the inside, and then inside the paragraph do props.roll. Otherwise, we could do something like another paragraph, no roll. So in this situation, we don't need quotes because it's directly encapsulated inside of a paragraph. You could do this either way, and the result should be the same. The reason why you might want to do the second one is if you want to display something different, whereas this one you have to put it inside of a paragraph. So for example, in this case, you could say class is equal to roll, and then this one, class is equal to no roll. You're unable to be that specific if you used this syntax up here. I'm going to save it, and it's probably going to reformat it, but it might allow you to see it a little bit better. So in this situation, it's going to render a paragraph either way, but the paragraphs are different. In this one up here, the paragraph's going to be exactly the same, so it's a little simpler. So in this situation, the parent component is the one responsible for the state, the data that's to be displayed. And props inside of the child component should not be changed. So we shouldn't be in here trying to assign values to props. Don't try to modify props. If you do need to change the value for a property, well, that's going to be done in the parent component as well. So as you get more skill, you'll be able to understand how to do that better. So we're going to be doing some of that in this series. So stay tuned for the next episode. In the next episode, we're going to learn about hooks and how the state of the page can be updated. React does this very efficiently without any page refresh, so it's like things just magically change. So that's going to be really cool. Stay tuned for that episode.